Hello, welcome to the iPad presentation. During this presentation, I hope to touch on some aspects of iPad culture at Stanton, why our kids are using them, how you can use them in your classroom, some models for thinking about iPad use and pedagogy, as well as some nitty-gritty details about how to actually add and update and upgrade apps. Along with this presentation, Anna Shepard is here with me.
Hello.
And she will be our measurable test case to see if we can move her from non-knowledge to knowledge. And indeed, we begin with a brief animation.
Hello. Like many of you, I often feel isolated and in a technological desert when it comes to iPads. But I'm sure after watching this presentation, I will be in a much better position.
Thank you, Anna. That was an animation made by Puppet Pals, which is available on our iPad carts, and we did not spend that much time on it at all, I promise.
Yeah, and most of the kids actually know how to use Puppet Pal, so they can teach you.
They can teach you. So here's my bulleted list for our agenda. Who cares about iPads? Why do we care? Things are not the same anymore. They're SAMR. I'm going to teach you a new educational a new abbreviation. I'm going to talk about pathological pedagogy. That's a really wonderful word. I have
pathological pedagogy.
I have a little intro video. Then I have a case study from South Africa, and I have a really handy chart, which will be on the share drive as well as in your boxes. Finally, then I'll get to the nitty-gritty of actually where are iPads and where do they exist on campus and how can I find them and upgrade them and add apps and so forth. So let us begin. Who cares about iPads? The following stats come directly from this year's Summer Bridge program. So we had about 375 of the incoming freshmen, and about a third of them took an online survey about internet usage. And so these are stats for our school. So class of 2017, which is really scary, that's the current freshman class, are true digital native. There's another little education-y, edukeys?
Yeah,
Let's do it. you can use that phrase, right? So how often on the internet? Always online, many times a day, a few times every other day, and rarely. You'll notice two, rarely. Most of the students indicated many times a day or always online. Always online, I would suppose, means never disconnected. I think I would count myself in that group.
Yes, you would.
Probably. I'm online right now as I do this presentation, actually. So who cares?
I need to unplug them.
Who cares about iPads? Some more stats from Summer Bridge. Access to mobile devices, and mobile devices can include Droids, iPhones, iPads, iPad Minis, Kindles, you name it. I don't think flip phones would count, but everything post flip phone. So 17% every waking moment. That was an actual option, and many chose it. Often daily and a few times daily. Every other day or rare, only 11%. So we can often presume
those people are grounded.
Yeah, their parents took their iPhone away, basically. We can presume that a great majority of our students have access to the internet and indeed have access to some form of mobile device at some point during the day. Not all of them, but a great deal of them. And we have at our disposal, not disposable, disposal, a great number of tools that we can help to transform how they already work with their own mobile devices. We have some more stats.
It's an opportunity for us.
It's a learning moment.
It's
right?
wonderful.
Yeah, teaching moment as well. So who cares about iPads? This is just about social networks. These were the top 5 social networks listed in rank by our incoming freshmen, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Vine, and Pinterest. I really think that the kids are getting away from Facebook. I think that's kind of old hat now.
They think it's all adults.
Well, there we go. Twitter, I really highly encourage everyone to use Twitter in their classroom with their kids. Like, your kids can show you how to tweet in your class, and it's pretty impressive.
Instagram is cool because you can take photos.
And videos now. Vine is pretty cool. Pinterest, we can actually access Pinterest at school.
Which is great.
Yeah, consider using that in class.
All sorts of DIY, what to do in your classrooms too, so it's awesome.
So Facebook is blocked. Instagram I don't think is. Twitter isn't blocked. Vine is really only a mobile app, and Pinterest is you can get on both your browser and your mobile device. And so these are some of the social networks our kids are using. Bring your own device, planned access. 43% of our incoming freshmen plan to use BYOD on a daily basis, with 40% frequently. I didn't explain necessarily what the BYOD network is. I gave it a little sub-paragraph, but it seems like this is increasingly something that people and students are expecting to have access to, and Wi-Fi. And indeed, when I tweeted this whole infographic, actually, it got picked up by the Los Angeles Unified School District, and they were like, what's BYOD? And so I told them, and they were like, wow, that's cool. So we are really lucky to be able to offer that to our students, and we should encourage them to use it while explaining privacy concerns to them as well. All right, I'll move along with that. All right, so this gets me to a handy new way to look at the use of technology in the classroom, and it's called the SAMR model. And it was designed to help educators integrate technology into teaching and learning, and was developed by Dr. Ruben Puentedora.
Muy bien.
The model aims to enable teachers to design, develop, and integrate digital learning experiences.
That means hard bridge.
That utilize technology to transform learning experiences, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry. What SAMR is it's sort of like Bloom's taxonomy for when you start using technology in your classroom. And so for a lot of us who've been working with iPads over the past year or so, I think this is sort of like the stages of acceptance. It's like substitution. Like the iPad first starts as like, well, I can use the iPad now to have them like write essays, right? Or take a quiz. Augmentation is, well, actually, the iPad can have them take a quiz and do really other cool things like mix up all the questions all at once. Modification, oh wait, this actually allows them to have multiple choice and short answer responses all mixed up, and then they can peer review each other. And then finally, something like redefinition, in which we've totally transformed what was one form of assessment or learning experience into something completely different simply by the introduction of a tech tool. And so I have a little quick video to show you about the SAMR model, and you can use this word. This is like a real word to use, and people will be impressed. I guess someone tweeted at me, so I was like, oh, okay, I'll look into it. SAMR and the Common Core. SAMR is a new model for tech integration into the classroom. This is like, I'm reteaching myself. It's aligned to Bloom's taxonomy. It certainly is, as you'll notice, it moves up a scale, just like Bloom's on higher order thinking. And it is aligned to both Common Core anchor standards in ELA and standards for mathematical practice, which I think just about everything that we do at Stanton is, but you can say this is aligned to Common Core. And here, there's Bloom's taxonomy, digital taxonomy 2.0, right? And here, this is just an image of Common Core, Common Core, and then on fire. All right, so SAMR in 120 seconds. Let's watch together.
This is the SAMR model in 120 seconds. The SAMR model is a framework that provides a lens for viewing technology integration in the classroom. The first level is substitution, or the idea that a block is a block no matter where it is or how you access it. This would be like using Google Docs as any other word processor. The new tech replaces the old tech, but it does not change the task. The next level is augmentation. At this level, the tech is still a substitute, but provides more functionality as students work to complete the same task. The ability to share your Google Doc in one click and the fact that it saves to the cloud automatically and provides you access from anywhere is an increase in functionality. The next level is modification. Here the ball really gets rolling because the technology is used to redesign parts of the task and transform student learning. Students collaborating on one Google Doc and using the comment feature to provide instant feedback is an example of modification. The final level of SAMR is redefinition. At this level, we're able to design and create new tasks that were once unimaginable. By shifting our perspective from technology just being another block or substitute, we're able to truly start imagining the possibilities. An example of redefinition would be connecting to a classroom across the world through students sharing Google Docs. They would each write their own narrative of the same historical event, using the chat and comment section to discuss the differences. Then students would use the Voice Comments app to discuss the differences they noticed and embed this in their class website as a culture walk. To recap, substitution is the same task, new tech replaces old tech. Augmentation is the same task, but the tech increases functionality. Modification, we're able to redesign parts of the task. Redefinition, we're able to create new tasks once unimaginable. As we move from substitution to redefinition, we're moving from enhancing to transforming student learning.
See, that wasn't too bad. That was
No,
pretty bad.
and actually I did something very similar to this last year.
Yeah. Oh, did you?
Well, yeah, with the Turnitin.com.
Oh, yeah. So here's an idea of SAMR in my classroom. Substitution, I use Schoology to conduct in-class quiz. Augmentation, I'll use Google Drive to upload resources and presentations so that kids have instant ongoing access, and just like you were talking about with Turnitin as well. Modification, last year I used something called VoiceThread for an audio and visual remote conversation with students in separate sections, so like my two film sections could talk to one another. And then redefinition, using Skype to video conference with, for instance, two film classes at two different schools on a shared project. And so Dr. Talbot and I, we had our kids work together on a shared project, and they got to like see each other and wave and make little videos and comment on them and double retweets and so forth.
Right.
iPads in Education for Dummies. So this is a newer resource which will be placed on the shared drive next week. It's a new book. I didn't come up with the title. It has an insulting title, but I guess we're all dummies, right? So here's this guy, and he's going to introduce iPads and kind of give us a really general introduction to why they can be useful.
I'm Sam Glixman, and I'm the author of iPad in Education for Dummies. The iPad's a great tool for education for a number of different reasons, but our goal in educational technology is to make the technology as what they call invisible as possible. We use technology all day long in a number of different ways. I mean, think of a pencil. You don't think about training and finding out how to use a pencil. It's instinctive. You pick it up and you use it. That's the sort of way we want to approach technology. We want technology that becomes so simple and easy to use that we can integrate it into anything we do. And with the iPad, it's very mobile. It turns on with the press of a button. It stays charged all day. So it's a wonderful tool to integrate into your classroom activities. And it has this incredible touch interface. Think about when you were a kid. You didn't use some sort of external object like a mouse to manipulate whatever it is you needed to handle. You touch it. And it's the same with the iPad. It has that touch interface that's so intuitive for kids to adapt to. And it's got the camera built in for integrating all sorts of media. You can attach probes for scientific measurement, and a whole area of assistive technologies for kids that have trouble either with visual, auditory, or physical limitations. So it's really an ideal tool for classroom use.
All right, wonderful.
I'm really interested in this probing.
Well, actually, the mathematics department added a clinometer to the iPads for use during summer bridge so that the kids could run around and do whatever one does.
Probing.
Yep. Measuring, I think, not probing. Oh, I think we're kind of sort of done with him. All right, so here's a case study of iPads in South African schools. South Africa actually has had one of the most kind of, I don't want to say aggressive because that's the wrong word, but most aggressive attempts to integrate iPads into their education system. And so a great many of South African schools on all levels, primary and secondary, now include access for students through iPads. And so this is a little case study that they put together. This is a nicer video. And the other one was fine, but this one's snappy.
I like snappy.
It doesn't work.
There you go.
Right here we have a kid using GarageBand, and we actually have access to GarageBand, and you can put it on the iPads. My film students, this is how they compose music for their films, although this child is doing much better than my students. You can also make ringtones. Anna and I have made ringtones based
Yeah.
off of...
It's great. We had the burping ringtone.
Yeah. And actually what you can do with GarageBand is you can link up multiple iPads together on GarageBand, just like they're doing here, and have like a little jam session.
That really is
It is cool.
science is a combination of abstract thought, but with very sort of physical things that you're trying to explain. And so the ability just in class to have an iPad just as a commodity lying around, you know, you can quickly Google a fact. You can, in that particular app, you see you actually see the electric current in the circuit,
that's pretty cool, actually.
which enables us to overcome a whole range of misconceptions when you just leave it to children to visualize things for themselves. 3-year-olds are intuitively wired for this sort of technology. They were born into it and they understand it. And just the ability to do colors and shapes and gross motor chord things, it's worked extremely well. And even amongst the preschool teachers who were initially a little bit hesitant and unsure of how it was going to pan out, there's a level of enthusiasm and, in fact, demand. They want more training, they want more accessibility.
Side to side, like that.
The Piedmont School Support Program is a education intervention supported by the Piedmont Group and Empress Palace. The program comprises of 7 public high schools and their 20 feeder primary schools. We have found that the suitcase of 10 iPads is a very useful tool within the schools. We've invested in 3 kits of 10 iPads per primary school, and this allows the schools or the teachers to use it in a number of different ways.
At the moment, about 320 learners have interacted with the iPad.
Showing you how to find information. What I want you to do is say, determine.
When we introduced the iPad, when they start interacting with the iPad, they started to brighten up. They started to show that now we want to learn. And also from that, they started to reproduce more effectively what they have learned. It empowers or it improves their capability.
Normally, they have problems in subtraction, others. So if you use iPads, they have like the apples, they can calculate using apples, subtract apples from apples, rather than writing numbers 4 minus 2. So it's more easier because they use the objects. They can see the apples, they can cancel the apples, they can count what they see rather than counting, memorizing things they don't see. It has reduced a lot of absenteeism because no one wants to miss an iPad class.
When the iPad came out last year, it was such a unique device. We decided to look at implementing it in our grade 1s to 3s, and because of the device itself, we took it into grade 4 this year as well.
iPads are a lot funner than working in books, because for working it's like really hard.
75% of our classrooms have their own iPads, of the learners have their own iPads. We create a one-to-one environment by bringing in our own iPads as well. So each learner in each lesson will have an iPad.
We develop apps for the iPad in grade 7. The reason we have a project in grade 7 where the children create apps for the iPad is because it's not enough for them to just be users of technology. They've got to learn to be able to create content for that technology, to truly understand it. And so we encourage them to develop and design the different aspects of an app so that they fully understand how an iPad works and so that they can use it in ways that we didn't even think possible.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I actually want to try this with my students at some point this year of developing apps. Really interesting.
Our app is called Soccer Fever, and basically what it is, a game where you have a goalpost and you have to try shoot into it and hit the target.
I'm a sound engineer in the group, and like my job is like if it scores, like everybody's gonna go woo, and then there's gonna be like those 2 people like blowing the vuvuzelas, like yeah.
One of the big issues about education is getting children to engage with their learning. It's a very engaged device. So children feel engaged just because they have to touch it and because it's very tactile in the way they use it. The textbook just doesn't cut it when it comes to that sort of thing.
We acquired iPads in April of last year, and I was immediately interested in trying iPads out with our children. And they love the iPad to the extent that sometimes they cry to use them. But as far as the little boy Ruben is concerned, when he arrived at the school, he wasn't talking. And what the iPad has done for him is amazing. And for a little boy to progress from being non-verbal to now speaking in sentences is an amazing feat.
Show mommy the donkey. Touch the donkey.
The most amazing thing for us was when Ruben started using sentences and words, and especially because he's making use of Talking Tomcat on the iPad, and also because we struggle with his sensory, we struggle for him to hold a pencil or a pen or work of paper. We find apps on the iPad that he can use his fingers, so he can also learn how to write and draw and colour in. And we also find like this helicopter game that he plays that teaches him hand and eye coordination, which we think is amazing.
And now you must tell me where to go.
Cool. Now, a lot of that was focused on primary school and primary years. I don't want you to think that the iPad becomes kind of obsolete for secondary. It is more than simply coloring and using colors, although that's really important as well. It's a pretty powerful research and content creation device on the secondary level. And I know a lot of times as teachers we're worried like, oh, I have to develop a lesson where I teach my kids how to use this app. Absolutely not.
No.
Pick the app, put it on there and say, imagine the outcome you want. So like I was talking with Maura this morning. She wanted to work with the Puppet Pal animation, the one that I showed you with Anna. And she's like, well, I don't know how to teach this to my students. Like, well, you don't have to teach it. Just tell your students, Puppet Pal will create animations. I want you to create this animation and I want it done by the end of the period, and you'd be surprised how elaborate.
Yeah, and they know how to use this stuff better than you do.
Absolutely. Let them teach you. You don't, this is really, I think this is a student-centered learning experience.
Absolutely. I learned a lot from my kids last year.
Right. All right, I'm going to talk about the pedology wheel. I did not make this, but it is amazingly awesome, and I will put a hard copy in your box later today as well as on the share drive. The pedology wheel combines the SAMR model, right? It's a substitution, augmentation, modification, redefinition. From enhancement to transformation, combines the SAMR model with iPad-ready tech and integrates Bloom's taxonomy in the mix. And so what I'm about to show you is a PDF. I put it in the presentation, but I'll put the actual PDF in the shared drive and then a hard copy in your box. But on the PDF, it actually includes direct links to the app. So when you press an app, it'll open up. When you press an app icon, it'll open up the app store.
That's so nice of you.
I didn't make this. It includes quick read codes for complete access to blogs with additional info if you have a quick reader on your phone. And like I said, I'll put a hard copy in your box. It says it has been, but it will be. And so it's going to look really confusing, but if you close up to it...
Well, it looks like Myers-Briggs.
It does look like Myers-Briggs, but if you think about it, I don't know if you can actually see the mouse. If you look at the upper, for instance, the left-hand side where it says redefinition, the outer ring, you'll see all of these little apps there that combine the types of activities. This is very Common Core, focusing on the verb, right? Students demonstrate, right? Hypothesize, rearrange, originate, right? With activities and then with the apps that help them to do that. And so you'll see GarageBand's up there. Nearpod, we learned about that on Tuesday, is up there. There's a whole bunch of other ones. iMovie, we have access to that. VoiceThread, Prezi, which I know a lot of us use. And so this is a really handy guide to ways of thinking about SAMR model and iPad-specific apps that you can do and activities that you can do, right?
Oh wow, these are great ideas. I think I'm going to use this.
Yes. And when you open the PDF and you like move your browser, your little mouse over the icon, it opens up that app. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I could die.
Yeah, it's gold. I didn't take the guy's face and be like, I did this. No, that guy did it. Alan Carrington. Yeah, there he is.
Yes, we like you.
He
did a good job.
He did a hell of a job there. No, we already did this. Just in case, reteaching it.
Just in case you need to take notes again.
Hard copy. Very good.
Oh, the nitty-gritty.
All right, so the nitty-gritty details. This is like, where do I find an iPad cart? How do I update and add an app to an individual iPad? Very good question. How do I add an app to an entire cart of iPads? Very good. And what if I want to purchase an app? Very good grammar.
Yes.
These are the top 4 questions, along with how do I print from an iPad, and that's a whole different presentation, so that won't happen today.
Yeah.
So where do I find an iPad cart? Each department has an embedded iPad cart for daily use. See your department chair for details about the location of this iPad cart and for scheduling purposes. Additional carts are available for checkout in the Media Center. How do I add an app to the individual iPad? And here you see the icon for the App Store. That's what it looks like on the iPad. And so these are instructions if you have an individual iPad, like if you have a teacher iPad, or if you are just dealing with, you want to add an app to one individual student's iPad, or if you want to update an individual iPad. All right, so there's a new Stanton-wide Apple App ID. And so for some of you, you've had iPads and it'll be like, give me the password for Contog, whoever that jerk is. Well, now there's a new one, and it's for school-wide, and you will have access to both the login and password, so you can update on the go. Amazing. I'm trying to decenter.
That's great.
Yeah.
For you, too.
For everyone. All right, so with this ID, you can update priorly installed apps or add new ones if they're free, and prior purchase ones from the App Store icon. And actually what I mean by that last phrase is we have a really large backlog of apps. And so if you have an individual iPad and you are signed in with our Stanton-wide Apple ID, you can actually go in the App Store, look at all of the ones that aren't even on your iPad that you can add, and there's a bunch. So just like that Podology wheel, about half of those are probably already on there. There's crazy stuff. So have at it. The app will need to be free because there is no payment information associated with this account, right? So you can't buy, nothing comes for free. You can't buy something that costs money with no money, right? I guess.
Yeah.
Capitalism, right? This Apple ID is only for use with school-based iPads. Please don't put it on your own, Mr. Holcomb. Department chairs have been emailed with the login details, and that includes the username and password. I don't want to put it in the presentation because I don't want to. I'll give it to your department chairs. And then this is probably information we don't want to share with the students, although I suppose all they can do with it is add apps and update our iPads for us.
Right, yeah, but they could go a little crazy too.
Yeah, just, with common sense and caution.
Yeah, you don't want too many apps.
Yeah, any app downloaded or chosen while signed on with this ID will always need to be updated with this ID. You don't need to remove any of the apps that are already on there. They are already associated with this ID. They just don't know it yet, right? But if you download, for instance, VoiceThread, and you were signed in with this ID, you're always going to need to update with VoiceThread, or with this ID. It's not a big deal, but just FYI. You sign in via the settings icon. There's the settings icon. So here are the steps. Step 1, in the settings settings, sign into the App Store with the Stanton Apple ID, which your department chair can give you. Step 2, in the App Store, download or update any of the apps you wish. Step 3, in settings, sign out of the App Store. So sign in, go to the App Store, get what you want, sign out, right? That's pretty simple.
Yeah, very simple.
If you find that you're trying to update apps and you're getting an error message that says like, this isn't working, retry or something, that means that you're going to need to authenticate with our district firewall, and that basically means go in your browser, go to YouTube. You'll see like the main message come up, and you'll put in your login details like AdamsJ3, and then my password blah 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 blah, or Reading A, whatever. And that'll allow the iPad to be like, okay, I can download something now.
Yes.
When you're in the settings, there'll be options that are already clicked to off, and that'll be like keep iTunes, Match Music apps, and book settings to off. They're already at off. Let's keep them at off. That way you don't all of a sudden download 200 apps onto your iPad. That would be
Again,
bad.
that's minimizing the
that's
number of apps on your iPad.
And that's telling you to not do something. That's that's not even an intervention. It's just like, stop. Don't do it.
It's already on off. Don't turn it on.
How do I add an app to an entire cart of iPads? This is very simple. To add an app to an entire cart of iPads, you will need to drop it off with me in room 609. And the reason is simply that it needs to always go through the same computer, and that's how we've done it. We can't have multiple stations around the school. It just gets really wonky. Here's my planning, third period, but there are other teachers in my room, so don't just barge in and be like, get me my apps.
And he typically can't do it within, like, by the end of the day. He'll try.
Clearly indicate desired app. That means put it on a Post-it note. And then expect a 24 to 48 hour turnaround. Usually I can get it pretty quick, but it depends. Also, if you're bringing a cart to add an app, if you're trying to interlopers, if you're trying to add an app to an entire cart, please plug in all of the iPads in the cart before you bring it to me.
Yeah, because they do turn off.
I cry when I see unplugged iPads. So what if I want to purchase an app? Very good. Absolutely. Number one, do not enter any of your payment info into the Stanton Apple ID. Just don't do it. You're like, but it's so easy and it's only $2. And it's like, you're going to do it and then someone's going to sign in and they're going to buy like a whole bunch of stuff. Don't do it. We don't need to. We have app money, right? So it's okay. All you have to do is, if you want to purchase an app, write it down on a little like Post-it note and bring me your cart. So follow the instructions for the previous slide. Bring it to me. Not a big deal. All right, any questions? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think that was pretty good.
Yeah.
So let's check in. Email me at adamsj3@duvalschools.org. You can corner me during planning and ask away. I'll usually be nice. And then let's check in with our student and see if they learned anything today.
Wow, that was amazing. I'm a tech star. I can't wait to watch this presentation over and over and over again. I know it will answer all of my questions. Plus, all that cool stuff about Samar. I have a new educational tool to talk about. Woo!
Wonderful. There you go, the end.